Third question is from Lewis Campbell, and it's how are you planning to hook such an old and clever carp? A complicated rig, I presume. Well, not really, Lewis. A lot of my rigs, they're all kept as simple as possible, because I think if it's simple, there's less things to go wrong, basically, and especially as Hatfield's such a snaggy and demanding water, you want to be using components that you can trust and that you know are gonna work for you, basically, and not fail. And that's why I try and keep my rigs quite simple. I bought a couple of them along here. The first one here is just a little snowman rig. Obviously I've got the CT More Live System bait on. I've been pre-baiting with that since probably mid-February. I've put quite a lot of that in. They really seem to switch onto it. It's just a little snowman rig, just a coated braid, strong, supple coated braid, so it sits over any twigs and stuff on the bottom, just so it's lying nice and flat and it's out of the carp's way. They're not going to spook off of it. That's in £25. I've got a wide gape X hook, which is X stands for extra strong, so the wire in the hook basically is a thicker gauge. It's a much stronger hook, so when you're snag fishing you can really give the fish some stick and pull them away from the snags. And it's just a little snowman rig, so you've got a pop up on the top and a bottom bait on the bottom, and the pop up just counteracts the weight of the hook, and it's going to sit just like that on the bottom, really, just hovering there over any rubbish on the bottom, just waiting for the fish to come along. And because it's so light, hopefully it's going to fly back into the fish's mouth. And also where it sinks down really slowly, it's not going to go down in one big clump like that, it's going to slowly push away from the lead and all be lying pretty on the bottom. But also, because there's actually a lot of crayfish in Hatfield, and they can be a real problem, they can take your bait a lot of the time. Sometimes, or a lot of the time actually, I actually mesh my hook baits like I've done on the bottom bait here. I don't know if you can see that. It just stops them getting at the bait and it keeps it on there for a lot longer, and it just keeps you fishing basically, because otherwise they will have your bait in a few minutes. It's the same principle again, slightly bigger hook on this, but on the top I've got a little Milky Toffee high vis pop up just in case the fish, they're switching onto a certain colour. Maybe it might just catch their eye and they might just snatch at it, but sometimes you'll find that I'll change, like I've got a matching boilie on top of here and a bright colour here. Sometimes they might spook off of the bright colour, sometimes they might be having it. And also, like I was saying, there's a lot of leaves, a lot of twigs, and just a lot of rubbish on the bottom really. This is the last rig I use. It's called a multi-rig. It was developed by John Cavanagh, and basically first of all it lets you change the hook really quickly, which is really important. Most important thing is having a sharp hook, otherwise there's no point you having your rig out really. It's just not going to be as effective as it should be, and probably not hook up properly, and if you do hook up it's just going to pull out anyway. This is a pop up, so I've got a corkball boilie on here. A lot of people attach the boilie by actually piercing it and threading it through. I like to tie mine round because I think then you don't pierce the cork in the middle and it keeps its buoyancy for a lot longer, and because it's quite a difficult lake, you're leaving your hook baits out there for about 24 hours. I'm not fishing it very high, it's just going to sit on the bottom like that, just held down by a piece of putty, just sinking down really slowly again so it will fly back into their mouth and hopefully catch them off guard. I'm not fishing it very high just because I think if you're fishing it too high, if you're fishing it like that off the bottom, it's not going to look natural, especially if you're fishing over a feed of boilies that they're rooting around in the silt for. It's just not going to look natural and they might spook off of it, so keep it nice and low. And pop-ups, sometimes they can trick out the bigger fish because they get big by eating, they get big by being greedy, and if that's sitting up and it's sitting there in their face, hopefully they're going to have it. Instead of, it's less effort for them than rooting around in the silt, it's just there, and hopefully they can have it, and I trust this rig completely. So basically it's all about keeping it simple and keeping things that work and that are going to do the business for you, and that's it.